our first guest this morning, Hao Hong, CIO at Lotus Asset Management, and joins me around the set here. Hao, it's very good to see you, and thanks for joining us today. Let's start with the announcement by President Trump about his nominee to run the Federal Reserve. What do you make of this announcement? Poly market, of course, he was a favorite, but he's also seen as a hawk.
Well, firstly, we don't know whether his past and policy incarnation in the public would, coincide with Trump's policy choice in the future, right? So, it's easy to be an outsider and criticize monetary policy, but then once you get to be the Fed chair, you may have to choose differently. I think secondly, Trump made the smart choice in the sense that he could be the candidate that can go past Congress. And then at the same time, I think the market sort of give him a vote of confidence as well. So I think, all in all, it's a choice by Trump, by the market, and also it could pass Congress. So I think it's a good choice for now.
So what does this do to your expectations of monetary policy? And does this kind of clear the air about Fed independence?
Fed was never independent, to be honest. Since 2008, right? So the Fed has been printing money to buy Treasury, right? So in such sense, I don't think Fed is independent at all. And also, I think Trump has shown very strong hand in interfering with the Fed's policy choice. So I think even if in the future, let's say because was trying to use higher higher interest rate to contain inflation expectation, but then at the same time reducing the Fed's balance sheet. I think Trump would have problem with that. That could potentially cause the wealth effect reducing. So meaning that the market could fall because of this policy choice, and I don't think Trump likes that.
Speaking of President Trump, does this do well for him in the midterm elections?
At this point in time, I think if Walsh get to implement his policy, so let's say he's using a higher than expected policy rate to contain inflation. And because inflation is now the key concern of the voting public, so I think if he get to implement his policy choice, then it's actually bodes well for Trump's midterm.
Of course, there's also this uncertainty about Jay Powell and the investigations.
That's
that we need to see that through before any confirmation can be made. I want to get your take on the market reaction here and the big moves that we saw in gold and in silver.
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest day for gold and silver in history, especially for silver. I think the move is like almost 10 standard deviation away from the mean, so it's not supposed to happen statistically. I think right now, because the Shanghai Futures Exchange is opened, it's still trading furiously, and a lot of the margins is still being called. So I think the Shanghai silver is still limit loss at the moment. I think once the margin call is finished, then more likely than not we will see silver and gold resume its uptrend from here. But I think it will take some time for the dust to settle.
Okay, can I put you on the spot here? I want to hear a little bit more about your outlook. We've seen gold trade at 5,600, silver at 110. Do you think we can get back there or close to it?
I'm pretty sure we will get back there and then go substantially higher from there. I think right now, if you look at the trading condition today, it is still very messy, but it looks to us that around 80, 75, 80-ish, is the bottom for silver. And I think just below 5,000 is the bottom for gold. And I think once the dust is settled, more likely than not, the precious metal resume its uptrend from here.
So we've got a couple of interest rate decisions this week. That includes the BOE, the ECB, the RBA, which is expected maybe even surprise the market and perform a cut. But I want to ask about the implications for the PBOC with this potential nomination, and we're waiting for the confirmation, of course. But how does this guide the PBOC's moves?
I think on the surface, because back then the market was looking for a easier monetary policy in the U.S., and that would open the window of cutting interest rate for the PBOC. But I think right now, because all this remaining unanswered question, so I would say that it would make the PBOC's policy choice less obvious. But then at the same time, since the beginning of this year, we've seen a very strong appreciation in the Chinese currency, right? So now it's like 6.96-ish. So it's below 7, the key hurdle rate for the yuan. So if that's the case, if the yuan is already appreciating, right? So even if the PBOC is cutting while the Fed is keeping interest rate steady, then it probably won't exert too much pressure on the Chinese yuan. And then also at the same time, it acts as a counterforce for the Chinese yuan to appreciate too fast and too rapidly. So if that's the case, then it's actually good for the PBOC.
Can we talk about the Chinese market? So we did get a set of data. The official reading came out at the weekend showing PMI in contraction of 49.3, but then this morning, Rating Dog showing a 50.1. There is a contrast here, but also we are up against the Chinese New Year period. Right. There may be a little bit more activity ahead of that.
Well, traditionally, if you look at the Chinese statistics, the January and February's numbers are very, very messy and tend to be overlooked by the analyst community. So I would say that, it's good that we have a better than expected PMI today. But then at the same time, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this reading.
Okay. I also want to, as we